I think no one should actually be afraid of AI.
Okay.
The only person who should be afraid of AI is the person who doesn't want to learn. Yeah, so probably if you are in that category, then you should be afraid of AI because AI will force you into learning, it will force you into a space that you wouldn't be comfortable with, right? So if you're afraid of learning, then you should be afraid of AI. Apart from that, if curiosity is something you appreciate, if information, if knowledge, and if change is something that you look up to, then you shouldn't be afraid of AI.
Hello, welcome to another exciting super duper exciting episode of the LHC Pod. The Lighthouse Conversation is a podcast that inspire elevated living, enlightening, captivating. Name it. We bring out the best of the best onto the show, and this episode is no difference. Welcome. My name is Emmanuel and Remo, and I have my co-host with me,
Lola.
the troublemaker.
Really troublemaker. Let's not go there. I'm in a very peaceful mood today.
You're peaceful.
Don't push your luck.
I just wish that people could see your shenanigans behind the cameras.
Well, they can't, so.
Never take her quiet face for calmness. I tell you.
You think you're warning people, but you're actually helping me sell market. So thanks, Emmanuel. And hi, everyone. It's good to be here again. So what are we doing today?
How's it been?
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's been very good. I think the week was busy, but quite productive. How about yours?
I can see your eyes. It's very telling.
What is it about the eyes now?
Are you making money? If you make money, share with us now.
If I make money, I should share with you. Then
50,
what's the point now?
50.
Oh, really? 50-50? Okay.
Gender balance.
Oh,
equality.
okay. We're going into Women's Month, so I'm sure you know how to do the needful.
Yes, and special shout out to all the women out there.
Woohoo!
Yeah, the IWD.
You won't shout out the one beside you here. Okay.
Shout out to you. Shout out to you too. Yeah, women make the world. What you have for us? What are we looking at? But I think before then, let's just introduce our guest.
Yes.
We have a super amazing guest.
Yes, our guest. Our guest is a man of many parts.
Okay.
Many
Tell
parts.
us.
And this is one subject that is very close to my heart. It's tech. And our guest today is an embodiment of tech. All right, so we have a guest with us. Someone who is an embodiment of one of my favorite topics of all time, tech. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hustlers, non-hustlers, I introduce to you all Ubio Obu, the CEO, Remo Start. Hi, Ubio.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi,
And it's fantastic, I would say, first of all, to appreciate you for finding time. Because
Yes.
he's a man of many parts, like Lola has rightly noted, and he's quite busy. We tried to get him some time ago, but we couldn't because he was out there, and
That's how tech bros do.
yeah. But today we were able to get he's around, and then he
Yes.
said, okay,
Yes.
why not? Let's just get it done once and for all. We
So
appreciate
welcome.
you. We thank
Yes.
you for your time, and it's great to have you here with us. And I believe that our audience out there would also gain so much from your knowledge, and so many things we can unpack.
Oh, it's a lot.
And
It's a lot.
then,
Yes.
so many assertions that we might dispel
Yeah.
today.
Mhm,
All of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you, Lola, for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So it's all about AI. That's all the rave right now. AI. Everybody's talking about AI, and some people even think AI is when your Microsoft Word autocorrects you. So let's start from there.
Yeah, I think the topic actually is
Yes.
who is afraid.
Who is afraid of AI? But who indeed they
Who
fear?
is afraid of AI? Who is afraid of AI? Me? You? Her? All the audience out there.
I think no one should actually be afraid of AI.
Okay.
The only person who should be afraid of AI is the person who doesn't want to learn. Yeah, so probably if you're in that category, then you should be afraid of AI because AI will force you into learning. It will force you into a space that you wouldn't be comfortable with, right? So if you're afraid of learning, then you should be afraid of AI. Apart from that, if curiosity is something you appreciate, if information, if knowledge, and if change is something that you look up to, then you shouldn't be afraid of AI.
Wow.
So we shouldn't all be afraid of
I didn't say so. There are people that should be afraid
AI. Why? Why?
because you see, I said people that are not curious should be afraid, right? Because and people who are afraid of change itself should be afraid
Of course, yes.
because when people see the unknown, when people are faced with something that is new, the reaction to a lot of people is always rather to be afraid. So they panic, they create assertions, they start creating theories, right, that are not true. They'll tell you, oh, AI is here to pack our jobs. AI is here. You get
Yes.
so before you
Yes.
know, AI is going to be killing one people and all this kind of stuff. It's actually a reaction to a new thing, and because they don't understand the new and they are not willing to learn the new and they're not curious enough, what we do is we create superstitions around it. So let's trace back, and this is actually how we humans cope with new. What did they tell you the first time? I remember when we were small, when your parents were probably our parent generation would probably be more used to what I'm about to say. When we started using microwaves, right? People said, "Nah, don't use microwaves. It causes cancer. It does this and all of that." So people create superstitions in order for them to exist in the old, while the old
Yes.
fades away gradually in their eyes. And because the new world is something they have never experienced and they are afraid to experience it, then they rather create superstitions that allow them to stay in the old instead of embracing the new. So those kind of people should be afraid.
Should be
Yes.
afraid of
And
AI.
okay.
Yeah, good.
And then basically the basis behind that fear is probably a lack of understanding. So maybe we can take it from the beginning and even ask ourselves a key
What-
question.
What is AI?
What is AI? Let's even start from the very basics.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lola, for the question. I have a very, very different explanation for artificial intelligence,
Okay.
especially when I'm in Africa. And I realize that this explanation always resonates with Africans only,
Right. Okay.
or maybe and Asians as well.
Okay.
That's because my explanation of AI does not start by talking about the fact that it is creating the sufficient agent and giving it the capacity to perform intelligence actions and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
I don't necessarily do that when I'm actually talking about artificial intelligence,
Okay.
because I feel like how you define something actually determines how people embrace it.
Right.
So when I want to define AI, when I am in Africa and I'm talking to an African audience, I usually define artificial intelligence as what we already do know. So you see, I used to, in my theory of artificial intelligence, I call it my own personal theory, or you can call it the Ubio Obu's theory of artificial intelligence.
Interesting. Okay.
Whatever that is.
Okay.
I believe that artificial intelligence actually has its roots in Africa.
Let's go
Really?
history. Let's
Yeah,
go history.
yeah.
Africa. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And
This is
so
interesting.
I'm
Okay.
actually currently writing a research paper that I want to key this thought in. Don't worry, we're gonna come back to the definition.
Yeah. Sure.
But it's actually essential that we understand the history.
Okay.
So you see, the thing about us in Africa is we don't know how to, we don't create, we don't take scientific approach to the things we do,
Okay.
Okay.
and we don't give names to what we are doing. And so because we don't, we other people name it on our behalf.
Okay.
Just the way they found out, they
the River Niger on our behalf.
Niger.
Exactly. They discovered, like, so
Discovered the River Niger, a river that has been
that our
flowing.
grandparents, like, I actually gave this same analogy in one when I was giving a conference
Okay.
somewhere. I used the Mongo Park story as well. Like, my parents used
Seriously.
it. So, but okay. So what is so historically,
Mhm.
we are the first set of people. So artificial intelligence, simple, is the ability to give non-animate things the abilities that are only specific to humans. Repeat it. Is the ability to give an inanimate thing, to give an object, to give something that has no level of sentienity. Sentienity means ability to think, right? It doesn't. So non-sentient beings, non-sentient things, giving it an attribute that is that is specific to humans. And what's that specific thing to humans? Intelligence.
Okay.
Intelligence is the only thing that separates us from every other living thing.
Okay.
Intelligence. Why we can conquer the world, why we are able to subdue the whole universe, when we are not the strongest of beings, we are not the fastest of beings, we are the most sluggish, and everything is just our intelligence. Now, that capacity to translate this intelligence, which is a capacity that is limited to only us,
Right.
and give it to inanimate things, is what we call artificial intelligence. So,
Right. Okay.
inanimate things now have the ability to speak, think, act, or do things with a level of intelligence the way we do. We call it artificial intelligence. Fortunately,
Right.
Africa was the first place to think that stones can think.
Interesting. Inanimate. Okay, I see the analogies now.
So-
inanimate objects, stones.
Yeah, we were the first
Okay.
to think that it's possible to talk to something here, and then it's going to be creating a reaction somewhere else.
As
How?
voodoo.
How?
Okay. So I'm going to give I'm going to give a very simple example just for the context of this audience, right? But I'm still I'm still working on the research,
Alright.
and it's going to be deeper.
Okay.
So there's something in Nigeria we call the Ifa cosmology.
Right.
Do you know that was actually the first prediction model?
Oh wow.
Yes, that was actually the first prediction model. Prediction models work on what we call y equal to mx plus c, where y is what you're going to be predicting,
Yes.
and then c is a constant, right? We have the mx being the information that so the output is y, the input is the mx, then you have the constant.
Constancy. Right.
So when we had the IFA prediction model, when they throw in that stuff, what is happening? That's input.
Right. Okay.
So when they align, they have what we call the couples, right? Whereby based on that, is it not what ChatGPT is doing? For every time you put in that input,
Yes.
you ask it, what is this?
Yes.
ChatGPT refers to a corpus. The corpus is actually similar to what the IFA cosmology have, that book where they go back to refer to, and based on that, the C is a constant, which is a priest. He now predicts and tell you what is going to happen.
Wow. Okay.
So the difference is, and I don't even want to go deep. If you go deeper, you actually know that those things are actually codified in zeros and ones. So we don't even want to go into that. That's the stuff I'm trying to do in the research. Right?
Okay.
But you actually realize that we actually had these things. We were predicting events and outcome, and then we had a corpus of knowledge, and based on that corpus of knowledge, we were able to predict. What about everything about AI is prediction mostly? So
Oh yes, it is actually.
it is about prediction. So it predicts. It does not necessarily know how long you're going to take from Lekki to Ikeja, but it predicts based on a mean average, right? And then it gives you're going to get there in 35 minutes, and most time you get 34 or 36, but you are just around that space. Now, that is exactly what. So Africa has actually been, and I tell this in a lot of things, right? Whether you want to talk, so we've actually been the first people to believe that maybe we can talk to this stone. Maybe we can do this. The difference is we're not able to understand or codify the scientific knowledge that we actually had. If we had put in the knowledge in a far years ago and translated it, we should have been the first people to have built a prediction model that would have been maybe 90 to 80% or 100% accurate. But we stopped at that level of just throwing the stones and then allowing the priest to interpret. We did not now take that process and codify it into a system. That was what was lacking. But when we talk about artificial intelligence, the ability for inanimate things to have intelligence, that's purely an African concept.
Interesting.
I have learned something today. I hope you have as well, because I think you've just basically been able to demystify everything, because I usually would think that artificial intelligence is basically something somewhere, everything. I'm not a software engineer and all those things, and it's just basically me too that I understand. But using this analogy to explain it drives home the point, and I fully understand. And the definition is as simple as possible. It's basically transferring the human ability of thinking to inanimate objects. Purely and solely.
It's basically what separates human beings from inanimate objects. The fact that there is intelligence.
Intelligence.
Hence the artificial.
Yeah, yes. that definition sinks and is going to remain forever. And I appreciate you. And that is what we bring to the table on the Lighthouse conversation, right? So we talked about it, and we looked at people are complaining, and I know that you've basically touched on that briefly. People are scared. Should they be scared? Because once inanimate being or object are able to carry out the function and roles of humans, where does that leave
us
the
humans? That's a very beautiful question, Emmanuel. The question is, should we as humans perform the very things we've been doing before now? Before the advent of tractors, humans were used as beasts of burdens. We actually were the ones picking up the heavy loads, climbing pyramids and building amazing stuff. We built the technology, and suddenly our role shifted. Our role shifted from being the ones that are actually climbing that to being the one that are designing the process.
The process, okay.
I'm saying this to imply that once a new technology comes home, the role of man changes. So we become curators of the process and not the process itself.
Right.
So that has been how we've been historically. Before the advent of ChatGPT, we were the ones writing the codes. Now you don't need developers again. Developers' role is now to curate the code.
Exactly.
He's no more the one writing the code.
Exactly.
His job now is to curate the code.
Which is an evolution. Yes.
Now, I agree with you that once this happens, people feel redundant.
Which is normal.
Which is normal, right? Because this new rule is something we are all humans and we are used to the old. Yes. What makes us humans is we are creatures of pattern.
Yes.
We wouldn't go, and we would have also understand that even that pattern itself is actually something that is unique to AI, right? AI works, it just mimics us, right? We love patterns. Once a human being learns something, the next thing it does is it keeps it on default mode.
Yes.
Default is your ability to be able to create a pattern out of an event, so you don't need to keep on thinking about an event anymore. So the goal of the brain is to be able to put as much activity into the subconscious, into the patterns, and then keep it in that subconscious this thing, so that those things no more, your brain goes on to thinking or doing something much more complex. Beautiful thing about AI is that it laps a lot with human psychology,
There you
because for you to be able to do anything, translate all of this stuff, you need to understand how we humans work. So we humans have two chambers, right? We have where the active brain is, where and then we have the subactive brain, the subconscious, right? And then so most of the as an optimal being, we're trying to optimize the process of picking more activities from your conscious mind to the subconscious.
subconscious,
That's why you
yes.
say you've learned. So Emmanuel can come in here and without thinking about the fact that he's going to be running a podcast,
Yes.
he's going to do it amazingly well. Why? Because Emmanuel has been able to do it over and over. Your
he has
brain
learnt,
has picked
yes.
it, removed it from the conscious point to the subconscious. Now, when that happens, what is your brain telling you to do with the gap that it is actually creating as a result of pushing the information and the activities into your subconscious?
Yes.
That's where you're supposed to now have the capacity to learn new things and innovate, right? But that has become for generations, that has become a problem for us as humans. Why? Because once we are able to get a job and put it in the subconscious, we relax.
Okay.
True.
We relax. So we as humans have been in the relaxing mode for a longer time.
Yes.
With the advent of AI, most of the jobs that we were used to, that we had put in the subconscious, that when we just come in, for example, you just come in, sit down, you're already doing the podcast. Now we can create an AI avatar that will be sitting down to take all of these podcasts for you.
Exactly.
So now the question now becomes, what do you need to do? Fortunately, that is where you now have your gap. The brain is always active to innovate. And so that was supposed to be the real purpose of the human brain. Not for us to be not for us to be repeating patterns that we've already memorized, but for us to be able to create new things.
New patterns.
So your brain goes back to innovation, creativity, which was the real essence of your conscious brain.
Okay, I think in psychology it's called unconscious competence, where basically everything just exists in the subconscious. Kind of like how when you learn to drive, you just drive automatically, speaking to your point about everything residing in the subconscious. So it's a concern for a lot of people now, especially creatives. You know, the creativity industry centers all around doing new things, writing, scripting things, drawing things, and all that. But AI is practically doing all of that now.
And he's doing it very well.
I mean, these days, if you get an illustration done by AI, you can hardly tell that somebody didn't draw that. Like, it's that good.
Yes.
And that is how it's supposed to be. Because we barely use 4% of our brain.
True. There's been research that's been done to back that up. So I think the next question would be...
So that means the creative need to be creative.
Exactly.
Because you can't be calling yourself a creative and all what you're doing is regurgitating patterns, regurgitating stuff that you've already done. Now you have to go back to it. So you see why AI is going to put us back to the drawing board. We have to all sit up.
Right.
And if we call ourselves creatives, you have to be creative.
You have to be creative.
So, rather than being afraid, if I understand this conversation correctly, it's basically telling men or man to wake up. That we've been able to, because again, for me, I'm usually not. I try to understand why certain persons are afraid of AI, right? And it speaks to your point, which is that people should. First of all, the AI was created by man, right? Which is people thought about it and said, you know what? Let us move this burden from man and give it to inanimate objects. And so that they can do this for us and do it more efficient, more effective, and in real time, right? Because there is also the burden of managing men when you're dealing with certain things. The whole essence of it is that people actually sat and they've been able to look at it and say, you know what, let's create this so that it takes off that burden away from us, which then gives humans the ability to then increase in their thinking. And it points to what you are saying. So it points to what you were referring or referencing at the end of the day. And if you look at it, it just makes our jobs easy. On a daily basis, we use different AI tools to enhance and better our productivity and performance at a place of work or at home or
Yeah.
in. But there is the point of ethics, right? From what people have seen out there, people are scared because the AI tool can be used to propagate agenda, right? It means that people can choose to say, you know what, we're going to program this information into the system. And for whoever who is researching or looking for this is the end result. And so there is also, apart from the fear of taking jobs, there is also the fear by people to say these things can be used to manipulate. And you understand, from the political point of view, it is there. From the governance point of view, it is there. And you cannot leave the place of ethics in all of this. How do we? What can you say? How do you think that these things are playing out? Is it a concern? Is the concern genuine? Is it something that people should be looking into?
Yeah, thank you so much, Emma.
Yeah.
That's a very nice question. So, is it a concern? I would say, yeah, it is a very, very valid concern. Um, the concern that people can actually use AI to manipulate circumstances and events is there. Um, should we be worried about it? Yes, we should, because it means that we actually can't be too sure of the information that we are actually receiving right now. The implication of that on the political space is even much more dangerous. All of these concerns are true. The way out, rather, is still again not for us to be afraid. The solution is one, the place of policies. So we need to have AI policies
Yeah.
on the ethical use of AI, responsible. So there's a branch of AI we call the responsible use of AI, responsible
Right.
AI.
Okay.
That's the branch, responsible AI, and
Right.
responsible AI talks to topics like transparency of the AI, interpretation, justifications, and a lot of other things around that whole space, right? So,
That's right. Yeah.
can we can the AI explain itself? So, when a model take action, are we how do we curate those actions? How do we say this is why this action was actually taken? Can AI come to a plan? So it comes there's something still under responsible AI. We have topics around explainable AI as well.
Right.
So can AI explain itself? Why did you take this particular action? Especially when we're talking about self-autonomous AIs. For example, when a car, we have the self-driving cars today.
Yes.
If a self-driving car is in a situation where it has to batch a child, and then like it's in that there's a car coming, there's a child here, and then probably there's a pregnant woman. So that
Wow.
means there is going to be an accident, definitely. What should that car do?
Yeah.
That self-autonomous AI
Yeah.
do?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
the second question that always come in the conversation around responsible AI is who is responsible for the
For the
actions
actions.
of that particular AI, right?
Exactly.
So one of the solutions to that has always been for AI to be able to give a log of explanations of its own action, right?
Right.
Yeah. So if AI is able to, so we can now review and understand, was that premise logical? Do we need to retrain it? Is it operating on a logical this thing? So that's on a more technical discussion. So the technical people will definitely understand what I mean with respect to this kind of ethical consideration with respect to AI. But talking about generally, right?
Okay.
One is the need for us to um, push our government to start creating policies
Right.
around this, and not just create those policies but enforce those policies, right? So we need an AI framework and policy that is enforceable in our state. That's the first thing. The second part of the conversation is for us to also use AI that checks other AI. So there are tools.
Exactly.
There are
Maker
tools.
checkers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there are
Yes.
tools that are actually meant to check all of this. So you should be able to get those tools if you are in those space. They help you to understand if a news you're reading on the is actually AI generated. If you haven't, just some I see some people argue with bots on Twitter. Sometimes
Right.
I'm like,
Honestly, like,
what the hell
bro,
is this?
seriously.
Yeah, so you see all of
If
this
only
kind of
they knew.
stuff. Yeah, like if only they knew, because the AI is becoming so good,
Mm-hmm.
it's engaging in conversations.
Yeah.
So people need this level of awareness, right?
Yes.
That no, you're actually arguing with a bot, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
this news was actually synthesized by a bot, because now we have
Exactly.
self-autonomous bot that can just sit down and be creating news by itself,
Exactly.
put in blogs, share on news. So we need to now get, so but the beauty about AI is that as people are using, because AI is just is not different from any other technology. Technology is neither good nor bad. It's the people that are using it that determines
That's
it,
right.
right?
Yes.
So the same way we have good people, the same way we have bad people.
Yeah.
And good people will use AI for good, and bad people will use AI for bad. It's the normal thing. That's the way the world has always existed, has always been. The balance
And
of
will
good and
always
evil,
be.
and will
Yes.
always be.
Yes.
Good and evil
Yes.
has to exist for the world to be balanced, right? So when we create technology, it also means that good people would use technology to create good things.
Right.
Bad people will use technology to create bad things. So there are also people creating good technologies to counter these narratives, create fact checkers, things, bot checkers, AI writers. So they make you to understand the context around that conversation or whatever is happening.
Yeah.
So I will actually encourage that people should learn to use these tools. Go online,
Exactly.
search for them, AI tools that check news, AI tools that do this. You will find out that for every narrative that
Yes.
a bad person is using AI to do, there's someone creating an AI to counter that narrative as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen it. Just points to the point. I've seen people argue, not just that, but one thing that interests me most in all of this is that it is the humor that comes with the kind of responses given. And I know that myself and Lola are in a platform where she, within the week, she was just dropping comments, AI comments on every individual, some of the persons in the platform. And when I read through the responses, and I'm like, this is serious humor. And one thing that I find very interesting about the personalities she was just trying to bant with is that the AI, the tool was able to understand the people quite well. As in, the responses are very aligned with the personalities.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and, all that.
Exactly.
And a touch of humor as well in all of this. Fantastic good. And we know that there is a balance between good and evil in the society. But the fear still lingers on, because if the bad outweighs the good, it then becomes a problem for every human living, because the hearts of men are of that type that you wouldn't want to create something that can destroy the entire world and give that power to someone who can just look one day, maybe psychologically the guy is just mad, just like, you know what, today let me just end these people and go my way. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that it's, but the fear are
Valid.
and justified.
Yeah, there's fear,
How fast can we begin to look at how to counter these measures is one thing. And then maybe when we discuss that, we'll now look at the economic benefits of AI in our society.
We are in a very nascent period in AI. AI is still nascent, so that means a lot can still be done. Or we see, in fact, we've not even seen one tenth of the things that will be done with AI. So that means we're still at the very beginning.
Yeah.
As a people, we need to invest in beneficial general intelligence programs that are highly focused on beneficial AI.
AI.
Right? So, um, why will somebody build a more sophisticated AI that creates evil? It's because he probably has more of that funding than you.
Exactly.
So society, the same way we in the early 90s, early 70s, when we were having the nuclear rush, where all colonial, like all big powers, were trying to be at the top of the edge of the of that technology. Everybody wanted to have a nuclear plant, right? That was like the goal of that time. USSR, like America, everybody was trying to get their own nuclear technology. That's the same thing that needs to happen with AI. AI has to be domiciled in the hands of good people. The people that need to be curating the narrative has to be people that can use it for good. So it's a very big opportunity for us in Nigeria. Thank God for the minister of, I think, was his Bosun, right?
Information, yes,
yeah,
and
he's
technology.
he has a very good insight into this. I see people actually critique him, being that okay, we don't even have light. We're talking about AI. Personally, I think it's actually possible. We don't need to have all of the stuffs ready. It's just that, again, maybe data centers and all of it. But I think it's very possible. So we need to be at the forefront of this solution.
Yeah.
Nigeria needs to be a powerhouse of AI. We need to this, and then I'm going to share one thing that I shared somewhere. The beautiful part about what we have in Africa and Nigeria is that unlike the developed world where we have all of this sorted out, excuse me,
Yeah.
unlike in the developed world where we have all of this sorted out, I can bet you that there's a lot of information in Nigeria that did not make it to ChatGPT.
True, because there's no one feeding.
Because that data is not out there.
Yes.
It's not on the anywhere in the internet.
True.
That is the advantage we have. So we need to curate our own narrative, put in our own AI and build amazing stuff. So we are at the nascent stage. We need to build our own AIs, use it for good, and then once we are able to empower the good people to get this solution, the bad people cannot take over.
So technology might be harmful. It's a concern and everything. But let's even take a step back now and look at AI as an entity. Who owns AI? Is it the government? Is it corporations? Because understanding the context to that question will also help to allay the fears that people might have in terms of who or what parties make use of this data. We've talked about the good sides and the bad sides, but who is even in ownership of AI, first of all? So that way, anyone listening now can make an informed decision that, okay, this technology actually can be utilized based on this new knowledge of where it comes from or who owns it. Is it the big tech, or is it the players, the guys with a lot of money, the guys funding it? Who exactly owns AI? Is it democratized?
Thank you for that question. So, the person who owns AI is the person who created the AI.
Right.
I have an analogy of AI to be man playing God to agents.
Okay.
So who
It's an
owns
interesting one.
Yeah. Who owns man? God.
Yes.
And for there to be God, now, whatever that is, quote and unquote, he has to exist in a plane that is out of where we exist for him to be God. So whatever the concept of God is, he cannot exist where you are, right? So he has to, for you to create an agent, you have to exist out of the realm where that agent exists. So we humans have created AI, but we don't exist in their own realm. So we have to exist in a world that is out of them. Now, I'm saying this to imply that the same authority that God has over humans, because he exists out of the realm that man exists, is the same authority that humans also exercise over AI, because we exist in a realm that is out of the realm that they do exist.
Okay.
It means the power of termination is in our hands.
Okay, I see where this is going.
You see where we are going, right?
Yes, yes.
So the power of termination of an AI is actually in our hands. If we don't want an AI to exist, we can terminate it, especially to
Yeah.
the extent that we are the creators of this AI,
Okay.
right? So to the so far as you are the creator of an AI, you exist in a realm that is different from that AI. So
from
that
the
AI
AI.
cannot superimpose. Its beginning and ending is actually purely on you.
Yeah.
You get? So that means that we humans have control over AI. Now I'm saying that to me
Okay.
as a collective.
Okay.
But obviously, if you want to now go in specifics, we want to talk about the big players in the game, right? We have the open AI,
Yes.
we have the cloud, we have Meta, we have
Yes.
so these guys are actually the ones in the big play. I actually work with an organization that is trying to decentralize the AI so that not only the big players are in charge. So we call it singularity net, right? So
Makes sense.
the essence is actually to simplify or decentralize AI so that it's not just the big players that are in charge of all of these, right? So
Okay.
that is actually it. The answer is humans are in charge of AI.
AI. Okay.
In specific, whoever created the AI will always control the AI. Now, if you want to narrow it down, the big players that own the infrastructure
Yes.
definitely own the AI.
Okay.
Now,
All right.
my question then is how does AI impact the global economics as of today and Africa? So in trying to explain to us, maybe we narrow it down to Africa and what the government or the people in Africa needs to be looking at. What the impact? I'm talking about the naira and cents, the dollar and cents at the end of the day. What impact does it portray?
I had a conference last year,
Okay.
which will come up again this year.
Okay.
We called it AIpreneurship. Last year was Founders of the Future, and this year is gonna be the age of intelligence. But I am referring to that to say something. Once we talked, the theme was the AIpreneurs, founders of the future, for a reason. I remember bringing up the data and showing to them that the top 10 richest persons in the world are connected to AI. I think out of them, I think 6 of them have their own individual AIs.
Okay.
Right.
Elon Musk,
Yes.
Grok,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook,
Yes.
Meta,
Yes. Llama. Yes.
Meta Llama, yeah. Google,
Yes.
Gemini. Amazon. So you want to mention all the top players right now, they have moved into the AI space. All. And I said something there. I said, you need to be smart. Well, you don't need to be smart to know that where the smart people are going, there's something there.
Okay.
So one of the skills,
Exactly.
one of the skill, this is a level, this is skill, this is smart skill, whereby it's the skill to determine what smart people are doing. You don't need to be smart. All what you need to do is to check where the smart people are going and aligning your tent in there. So if the global space, we want to talk about the top 10 richest people, and we're seeing that more than 6 of them, 60%, the richest right now have moved into the AI space. What is that telling us? It means that this is what is going to determine the global economics for the next decades.
There you go.
This is where, so we can't softball on this. We also have to align ourselves.
Okay.
You can't be in existence right now and say, oh, that AI stuff. You need to ask yourself that critical question in your industry. I can bet you whichever industry you are in right now, AI is coming for it. So the question is, will you rather build for it, or will you wait for it, someone else to build for it and take over your space? Whichever space you are in, even up till oil and gas, I can bet you that in the next 10 to 20 years, the person who will be dominating that field will have a touch of AI in that space. So there is no questioning to this.
Right.
Our own role now is to align in order to take advantage of this new space that is coming. For Africa, this is even much more interesting.
Okay.
We are the last point of consciousness of the world. Our crudeness is also an advantage because it means that there's a lot of data that the world does not have access to. If you are building an AI infrastructure for Africa,
Okay.
this is the best time. If you are collecting the data so that the AI guys can utilize, this is the best time because we are still in that nascent stage. The same way we lost out of the computer age, revolution, and every other thing, we shouldn't lose out in the AI space as well. If we lose out, we will be here and then we'll continue being a third world. Now, let me end this by saying that every time a new technology emerges, is looking for new world players and new people. It wants to change the dynamics of existence. Every time there's a new. So once you observe that there's a new thing, what happened to India was actually when we had the revolution with computers, what happened? The Indians adopted it. India was like worse than Nigeria about 50 years ago. But because of how much they adopted computers, it became the IT hub of the world.
Absolutely.
Whatever has made India to go out from being a third world country to a second world and even almost entering the first world country today is because of the dynamics of technology. When a new technology comes, it shifts the dynamics of the world. We have new players come into the scene and old player recess. Europe is actually fading away today. Why? Because of the way it least adopted computers, and now because of their over-regulation on AI, not allowing innovation, and instead of investing on innovation, they are there to regulate it. So you see Europe gradually drifting out, and then we are now seeing new players, US, China, Singapore, India, new guys are coming to the scene. It's an opportunity for us to change our narrative. We may not be able to change the socioeconomic this thing of our country, but if we adopt AI as early as possible, we have everything to make it that in the next 10 to 20 years, we now become the AI hub of the world. Imagine what that would be.
Wow.
We're ready.
We can, we have everything it takes.
Yes, we can be
because with technology means that information is not in one place.
I would ask, is the government listening? Because I know you've been playing in this space, you've been advocating for AI adoption in Nigeria, in Africa as a whole. Is the government listening? And are they creating the enabling environment for people like you and the early adopters to thrive?
That's a tough question. What I would say is, was it Abraham Lincoln that said, "Don't think of what your country will do for you, what you can do for your country."
I think that was Kennedy.
Kennedy, yeah. Yes. Thank you. It was Kennedy, yeah. I think I've come to that space where I believe change is in these little things we do. I believe in us having this kind of conversation and somebody listening to it and telling himself, man, I want to go and study AI. And I'm sure it's going to happen. Someone is going to randomly come across this conversation and it's like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I believe in someone who is going to be listening to... Now, don't worry, we'll still talk to the government, but you see, we call it government of the people. So there's a place of the people in government, right?
Right.
So I believe in someone listening to this and be like, okay, I think I would rather invest, Karim, I want to build an AI model for my small business that we're doing.
Exactly.
I believe that an industry expert will actually come across this and be like, okay, how does AI play into this? I believe in someone saying, okay, so I want to create a space where people can come in and just learn AI just because we had this conversation. Now, it is this kind of stuff when we create the enabling environment within ourselves. Silicon Valley and all these things when it comes to an African retrospect, is not going to be done by our government, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to be. It's so. For example, when we were talking about Yaba, you say, it's the
Yes.
Silicon Valley of. I don't think your government ever sat down. Our government ever sat down and said, "Let's make Yaba."
Nope.
Nope. It's none of their business. Like they have other things. They are concerned with, right? And we it's none of our business to delve into that.
Yeah, but maybe they could just ease the stress.
Where we want so the thing is, if you ask us, we will definitely want government to create policies, create enabling environment, but we know that if we put our burden there, we are going to miss the point.
Yeah, sure.
My focus here is that we shouldn't miss the point.
Okay.
Right? So what government can do is what they are trying to do. Good for them. They are like I've been seeing Bosun trying to bring in AI experts to create all of those things. Good.
Yeah, training teachers on
Training
AI.
teachers on AI and all
that
those
kind
stuff.
of
That's
thing.
beautiful.
Yes.
But that is just a one level this thing. The infrastructure that we need, right? We needed those big computing units and all of that. That's something that government can do. But who told you that we can't have someone watch this and be like, okay, I can create a computing unit. It may not be the biggest. I can just create a computing Let's start from there. So my focus is actually on us rather than the government, because I know that if government listen to this, they will do what they know how to do best. But what we can do is we can create an ecosystem so strong
that
governments don't have an option than to act.
Yes.
When an ecosystem becomes so strong, observe, because government is of the people.
Of
Of the people.
Yes.
So when people begin to rally around a topic, a conversation, it becomes so strong. Now government, because they want to buy in the people so that they'll be able to get into the next, so that they'll be voted in, they now know. So the next time a politician will come to your street, knowing fully well that the conversation right now with young people and everybody's AI, he will be promising to create computing units for you people. No more to be giving us rice as
and,
if you get. So the conversation right now is on rice.
Yes.
Because that's where the people are. What we are doing with these conversations is to take the people's mind to where it's supposed to be.
That's right.
Because once the politicians realize that the people's mind has now shifted, what they will be promising us will be the things where our mind is. So don't overblame our politicians. Our politicians are our politicians are a reflection of the people. If we, through our organic movements, can create a narrative so strong that the people's mind shifts, people are now focused on AI, people are now trying to see how they can utilize AI, the everyday thing, you will see what will happen. You will be shocked that this government know exactly what to do. They do know what to do.
Exactly. Wow.
The government knows what
they know what to do.
Oh, they know what to do.
We as citizens of the country in Africa, we also know what to do. It is on that note we go on a short break, but we'll be back to wrap up this conversation. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you just scrolled to this point, or you've been listening to the audio version of this podcast and you've gotten to this point, we've been discussing who is afraid of AI. And in the studio today, we have no other person than Mr. Ubio, the CEO, Remo Start. He's been an amazing guest, and he's been able to demystify the concept of AI, how it works. And I can tell you, by his definition, I am never again going to forget what AI is, or I can clearly explain to whomever wants to listen what AI is and what the role of human is. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Ubio, for honoring us with your presence in the studio today. And so much has been said, and I have asked so many questions. I don't think I would want to drill further. I would now allow Lola.
You can now digest what you
thank you.
Thanks, Ubio, and awesome conversation. If I were to host a lecture on AI, I would just steal that definition. So it's not just you, Emmanuel. Trust me, it was very well explained. So let's bring it all home now and look at how AI even gets to know people better? Because there was that example you gave earlier, Emmanuel, about
Yes.
AI spitting out some data about people, and we were so shocked that
Like,
it knows.
I don't understand. How can you say this
Yes.
guy loves money? Because he's a
Yes.
salesperson in real
Yes,
life.
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's obvious that it's getting that data from somewhere. It's obvious that it's processing the data from somewhere. So let's even give our audience a better understanding of how this happens. How does AI capture that data? And let's even talk about that first, and then we'll now talk about the broader context of the use of the data, whether it's been done ethically or not. So, but let's begin with the aspect of data capture, because people would want to know, okay, how does this thing know so much about
Knows so much about
about me? You know? Yeah.
So the AI.
Yes.
So our existence since the advent of the internet, we all have what we call our digital identity. All of us.
Yes. True.
It's something, whether you know it or not, you're actually creating a digital identity of yourself for every time you go on the internet. If you've ever used the internet, you're actually contributing to the internet. The idea around the internet was supposed to be an open source World Wide Web. So that's why they call it www. It's supposed to be World Wide Web. So it's open to everybody. Like, it's worldwide, and everybody is contributing to that particular web. You understand? So every time you go online, you write something, you respond to something, you are actually contributing to the World Wide Web. Now, AI couldn't have been possible about 30 years ago. It is the big data, the blast of the big data, where humans have been able to put a lot of information on the internet for the past 30 to 40 years that now makes AI to become as though AI is wise.
Right.
Right. So it is that so there's a common sentiency that all humans have. So there's this global sentiency that we've contributed to for the past 30 years by our activities and engagement online. So we've been creating, so there's this global, whatever that is, that somehow has a knowledge. So, and that knowledge it does have is a collection of all our individual inputs. Now, that is where the AI actually sources its data from. That is the so every time you go online, I want you to understand that you are actually divulging your consent. So to actually your consent to a particular intelligence or opinion once you put it on the internet. Once you put your internet, once you come on Facebook and you tweet, I love this and all of that. I love cat. I love all of that. What you are doing, that opinion is no more yours.
Yes,
you've actually given out. So if you go back and read your terms and conditions in most of these platforms,
which we don't read,
most by the way, you are actually giving this access to that these things can be processed, right? So so most of this opinion that we've been given every day has formed a level of knowledge. It is that knowledge that is now tokenized into 1 and 0. Right, we don't want to go into more of that. So, but all of that knowledge, so we call it the corpus, right? So all of that knowledge is now tokenized, and then based on that tokenization, right, that corpus exists. So every LLM or every AI first creates its corpus. The corpus is where it takes its reference from. Then what it now gives you is the inference. You get, so it has a reference point. It must always have a reference material, and it collects it from the and then textbooks, everything, you put it in there, and then it will now refer and be taking it inside. So it will now, from that information, it refers to it and gives you an inference. So what you got was an inference when you were actually talking about those people. It's an inference. The reference point, it has a reference point, which is the global web, right? And so, which whether we know or not, we've already consented that it should be used
based on the terms of use.
Well, just so a question came to my mind, just because I know you have another question to ask. But I'd like to again ask that you were talking about people can, investors or persons who are interested in AI can come and then build models for their businesses and everything. And we've also seen the big players in the industry now, all having their own. And we mentioned a few. We talk of Grok, we talk of Gemini, and a host of others. How can the small players play? Where are they going to be getting their data from? Based on what you're explaining now, and all the couples, the inference, and all of that. If the small players are
And that is the beauty of it. That's why we keep saying everybody should come in, because the small player has a data that the big player does not have. For example, let's even use this studio as an example. The operational knowledge that is only exclusive to this place. If you can gather all of that data, you don't need to now go. What you now do is to fine tune. You don't build the model from the scratch. In that instant, you only fine tune. So what fine tuning does? Fine tuning freezes the top model. It takes the structure. So how do I explain it? So let's say OpenAI has built a model. We call it GPT-3.
Right.
Yeah. So what it does is it takes the structure of GPT-3 and put on top of the data of your company. In this case, the what's the name of the podcast again?
the
Lighthouse Convos.
Lighthouse Convos.
Yeah, so the Lighthouse Convos. So it will now carry all of the data, for example, that you guys have gotten.
Yes.
If you have this thing, you can take it and then put it on top of the skeletal structure. So it wedges out the data, it takes the skeletal, and then you build on top of it. So now the information that it will now be referring to will now be specific to Lighthouse. So I can now go in and ask it on the 3rd of on the 1st of March, who was the person that came to Lighthouse Convos, this thing, and then it will answer. What was the person talking about? It will respond. What can we? I don't want to watch the full this thing. Can you summarize what the person was talking about? How does this relate to me? Now, the reason why he's able to do that, you didn't need to go and start teaching it how to do, because it has gotten the skeletal structure of the base model. It now works on top of the data that you now provide on top. So it provides relevant conversation to you.
And that's the intelligence behind it, really. Yes. So let's talk about the ethics of it, in terms of the fact that, okay, now we know where it gets data from. Now we know how it works with the data, how it makes inferences, and how it appears so much smarter than everybody. So the main concern now would be, okay, so how can this data be used in the right way? We already talked about the fact that we've all, whether we read it or not, we've all signed to the fact that, okay, this is my data, it's free for use and all that. So how can we maybe regulate or ensure that the practice and the use of AI is done under an ethical context?
One, don't give an information you don't want to be out there.
Okay, valid.
Which is again, and that is very valid, because you just see people expose whatever it is, and I've also watched videos of people and how they are able to trace you, even you without knowing, just by the kind of posts that you share, the pictures you're snapping that reveals certain information about your environment.
It's even deeper than that.
That they can
it's deeper
all
than
just
that.
put together, and they're able to get into your bank account.
It's deeper than that. Your phone can even listen to your conversations. Most people don't know that.
And marketers are using that.
So the second thing is read your terms and conditions clearly.
All right.
Do we have to read terms and conditions for everything that we do?
You can get AI to summarize.
Yeah, or you can use AI to summarize.
Just use AI, summarize it.
The third thing is don't accept every cookies.
Okay.
And they say accept all.
There's an option not to accept all.
Yes, exactly.
Don't accept every cookies, because these things act like crawlers in your phone, and they keep on picking those information and putting. So, but you have to be able to give it that permission. So don't accept every cookies that you actually that comes on the way, and then where you need to put in an information and you don't want it to be utilized, please state it categorically clear. Just let it be categorically clear that this information should not be used. And then now for the AI builders and the builders, right, we should be able to teach our AI. So now there is a conversation on where AI can actually tell you the source where it got its information from to give you that reference.
Yeah,
Oh yes, deep research.
Chat GPT is currently doing
Yeah, a lot of
Deep research
deep
and
research and all, deep
yeah,
seek and all those guys. Yeah,
DeepSeek, the rest of them.
yeah, they also
Yes.
do that. So
Yes.
that should be encouraged. And then where people are not comfortable with that, with their material being sourced or cited, then they now have the, so that's called it transparency. This is, so they now
All
have the
right.
option to now say no, I don't want
Don't
this,
use my
don't use this, or to write out.
to
So
write
but
this,
now
yeah.
people know, okay, this was sourced here, and not make the AI look like one Superman that got the knowledge from. So let those references be
Yes,
clearly
be
spelled
clear.
out, and then so that people can now decide willingly to either put in this information or not.
Amazing, amazing. AI. So now we've mastered it based on
I'm
everything
short
you've
of
told
words,
us.
really,
Yes.
really short of words. But as we begin to wind down this conversation, what would be your advice to would be AI
Enthusiasts,
students,
students, and all that.
experts, even the consumers as well?
So the conversation around AI is maturing, and it's beautiful to see that it's maturing. About 6 or 7 years ago was my first time of getting to hear about AI. I was fascinated, and I looked at the trend and I told myself this is likely going to be the future, and that was how I went back to learn. Went back to school just to go and study AI.
Amazing.
So um, I'm saying that to mean that if you really feel this conversation is for you, you feel I want to take some action. Why not? There are spaces you can learn online. There are courses you can take online. If probably that's your first level of action, why not take that action at least? And today there are a lot of scholarships where you can do that on. So there are a lot of options. I think few Nigerian universities now are actually offering that. So what I'm trying to say is that it's never too late if you really want to delve deep into it, and not just you want to take a scientific approach to understanding what AI is. Don't be afraid. 7 years ago, I didn't know everything I know right now. I was just a chemistry student. I just finished. All I knew was cations and all of that. I didn't even know how to write. I didn't even know how to write one single line of code, right? And we didn't really go deep. I would have shown the difference between programming and, and artificial intelligence, but maybe
Right.
that's another conversation. And you
Maybe
get to
you'll come
know,
back for that one.
yeah, maybe, and you get to know that AI is not as programming as people think.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
not.
it
It's
isn't
not.
actually.
It's not as
Yeah,
programming as people
yes,
think.
yes,
So
yes.
it's actually much more lenient, and you don't need to be thinking your head with so much of the object-oriented languages and all of that. So yeah, it's possible to actually learn. It's actually something you can go deeper. I would encourage anyone out there who actually does have that enthusiasm, especially if there's any young person probably trying to think which direction should I go, take the direction that other smart people are doing. You don't need to be smart yourself, but if you keep following the smart people, you people will always think you're smart. So yeah,
That's
this may be an answer to that question to someone. Oh, what should I go and study in university and all of that? Maybe this could be it, right? So that's just one. To people that are afraid, I would say don't be afraid. Embrace. It's just a new reality. Embrace it, and ask yourself, how can I use this in my own field? Once you're able to answer that question, you will see that you don't need, if you can, if you cannot create, then at least you can use it. The people that are using AI today are, so you used to use 10 hours to deliver a product. Someone is using AI and is delivering it in 1 hour. Me, I will pay for the guy that is using 1 hour. I will not care that, I will not know that the person used AI. So
Exactly.
why not you? Well, instead of you trying to stay and be debating, they are using AI, this is not this thing. Why not learn how to use the AI and then craft your uniqueness into that
Into
particular
it.
AI
Yeah.
and do it in 1 hour? Because me, as the user, I want to pay for my time. I want to make it faster. So if AI can make it faster for me, I don't care how it's going to be. So stop trying to when the wind is blowing, wise people don't run against the wind. They use the wind to go the direction that they want to go to.
Whoa. What a
Wow.
quote. Wow.
Just so you're the CEO, Remo Start. What is it about?
Oh yeah, thank you. So Remo Start is actually um we're using technology to help people uh, to to hire the right talents and also become much more effective. Like so, generally we provide tools and resources to startups and companies, right, in order to enable them to become much more efficient in whatever processes they are doing. So that tool and resources could be talents. Tools could also be the use of AI, helping them to build their softwares, whatever. So we provide those tools and resources that help startups and companies to become much more efficient in whatever they are building. Yeah.
Okay, you've heard from the CEO, Remo Start, and basically, if you are in need of their services, he's going to drop his handles.
Yeah, it's just www.remostarts with an s.com.
.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then your handle on socials.
Okay, yeah, just Ubio Obu. I'm mostly very active on Twitter, and then you can also see me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. So you heard from the from Mr. Obu. From all of us, we want to say a big thank you for staying
Thank
with us till
you.
this point, for watching to this point. Like we
Yes.
promised you, the Lighthouse Conversation podcast is entirely different. We bring you the best of the best in the society, and we try as much as possible to educate. Topics are educating, entertaining, and as well as enlightening. There's so much to pick from this. Don't just watch and stay back. Share this information with your colleagues, friends, and family. Subscribe if you haven't, and you can also share content with everyone. We want to say a big thank you to you from me,
Thank
Emmanuel,
you. And from
Lola.
Lola, thank you for watching. Thank you, Ubio, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lola.
Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Mama.
you.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you. From all of us.
It's bye.